what I've got for hardware synths is I've got a WaveStation SR hooked up. I've got a Ensoniq ESQM, which is a real old item, and I've got a K5000S. So those three synths that we have hooked up, and I'll go down here to their hookups. And so it's this one, and this one here. And you see they're all just going out to the processing rack, stereo in, so they get a little bit of reverb and stuff like that. If I wanted them to go reverbless, I could select processing rack bypass reverb, because I have a separate port input for that. But that's not the topic of today's discussion, though it could be. Here you see, this is a hardware sense, but I've got drop-down menus, and this is just favorites, a list of favorites that I use a lot, but I'm about to add, because I've just discovered some more favorites that I like using in shows. But it lets me change the patch on my hardware using the drop-down, and I'll show you how that's done. Same with this, K5000, I just got some favorites. Well, actually, no, this is all of the patches that are in this particular one. And same with the ESQ. Now, the way you get this stuff in here is you literally have to type it in. But first, let's cover the basics of how this is all done in terms of getting the MIDI out and the audio back in. The rack contains both, so all I have to do is send a keyboard controller to the rack. So let's look at the ESQ. As you see, my rack MIDI in goes out to the out port, ESQM MIDI out. And that's, of course, just a label for an assignment that's in my MIDI ports. And so out, there we go, out, ESQM MIDI out, and it's always going to channel 5. So I can send Omni to it, and it always gets rechannelized to channel 5. Okay, and select the port. I have a MIDI Express XT from Mark of the Unicorn, Motu, and so it's going out port 6 of that interface to MIDI channel 5, and so that's how I get that noise to happen. Which one is it? There we go. So didn't know which keyboard was which here. Then it comes back in through an audio port, and so now I go to audio ports, and I find my ESQM audio in, and it's going out of my 828. It comes into analog 3 and analog 4, and I just tap into those. Okay, so so that's basically the simplicity of that. Is to, yeah, it's also complicated. You have to go to 2 different locations, set up a MIDI port that sends out and channelizes, and then an audio port coming in to wherever that thing is plugged in, and tap off of the inputs. Okay, doke. Same thing as you see. Here's my taps, analog 1 and 2. I have the K5000, analog 3 and 4, the ESQM, and analog 5 and 6 down here for the WaveStation original, and for the SR it's coming in 7 and 8. So that uses up all my inputs on that, which is why I have to send the TX81Z over to my ultralight and then feed it back over to the 828 through the SPDIF, which is the one that I have left. So I do that little bit of a circuitous route, because I have too many hardware synths, right? No such thing. And okay, so that's the basic setup that you do for a rack, just to get that part in there. But now that I'm inside the rack, go to states, And here's where you have all the different states that each one represents a sound. And lo and behold, it uses bindings. So I can go to, gee, that sounds like it should be a movie soundtrack. Anyway, so as you see, it's just sent the value. Starts with 0, so 0, 1, and 2. Changing it to go to 3, and it's all done out of 1. So basically, whatever comes in when I make the change, on load to the rack states, on load, where it's going, what channel it's going out, and that it's a program change, and you type in the number for each one of the states. So it's a lot of typing initially, but once you're done, it's no work at all. Okay, so again, it's rack states. From this huge list of things, you go to rack states, and onload being the command, and then where it's going, simply select from your usual list, channelize it, though you don't necessarily have to, since, well, maybe you do in bindings, I don't know. Send program change, and then type in what that number is. Then save. After you've typed this in, you've set this up, you've done that, hit state, save, or Control U, update, Control and U, and make sure you update it, because if you just are making these things and clicking the next, sometimes it doesn't get saved automatically, I notice, or I'll be confused. I'll have confused myself and think it was saved, but it wasn't. So manually do the Control and U to save your states as you're moving on. So you just simply make a new, click on the next one, and it creates a new one down here at New State. Or you can do the new right there, Control Shift T, and make a new state. And then it'll keep this. So let's go ahead and make believe we're doing this one. Create a new state. And we give it a name. And so it keeps the binding intact, and I just simply change the number to the new number.
And don't forget to make sure that the state behavior target is marked, so it's different for each state.
Oh, yes, enabled. This has to be enabled, and this has to be enabled.
Yeah, and the target.
Target and enabled, exactly. Good call, yeah. Good call. Okay, well, let's go into the VSTs. I wanted to cover the same basic topic of the drop-downs, and this is accessible by anyone who's using any version, I believe. Well, tell me if Light doesn't, but... Okay, so now we have some other instruments, and you notice that right now the drop-downs I've only added 2 using the entire plug-in snapshots method here. I've got a reverbs rack, an alternative reverb, and this is just my reverbs rack copied and given a new name, and treated as an embedded, just treated as an embed, so I can have another list of reverbs to pick from. So I have a drop-down menu, but again, these were all typed in. It was all done manually. But there are some synths that have the drop-down list that populates automatically. Those are dreamy synths. Let's see if I can go ahead and find one of those. It is drop-down presets template. And I hope it works. And this may take a second or two to load in because, oh, look at that, it's pretty fast. This is mainly because so many of these are turned off. But these are all synths that have the drop-downs in them already. Now, not OBXA, not in any Arturia, and not Massive X. No, sorry. Wouldn't it be great? But I think that when you're getting into these like Arturia and native instrument things, all the new ones have so many presets that come with them that they use an extensive browser system. that must have broken the drop-down system. But there's a whole lot of older ones that are based on Native Instruments' original reactor, and which is like used to build your own synths type of a thing, and all of those, every single one of those, exposes all of their presets as drop downs, which makes them kind of renews the level of excitement that they've got, since all you have to do is add them using Cantabile, turn them on, and bingo, you can explore all of those patches that are in these synths. And some of them are like 15 years old. I mean, Reactor came out, that was one of Native Instruments' first flagship products. So you have Titan, you got some synth, again, all the presets it comes with, which wasn't that many. Let's unload. Subharmonic, handy little item. And it had 31 presets it came with. But you get the idea that this is a great thing. Now, one problem that these have, and I probably could use subharmonic as an example. Let's open her up. When you put it in, you want to use it with Cantabile. Initially, it's going to keep complaining. It's going to complain it can't find the synth. And this up here it'll be grayed out. It won't be available as an edit button. And you have to enable the automatic saving with host. I've already got that enabled here. But basically, what you click it, and it takes you to wherever in Documents, Native Instruments, Reactor 6 Ensembles, wherever you're saving your ensembles, and you simply save it. Go right to save, it'll already have put the name in, hit save, and now it'll always find it. But it's a weird little hoop you got to jump through in order to get these Reactor synths to work with Cantabile after the initial installation. So initially when you install it, you'll find that upon returning later, it'll give you this error message. Avoid that by, after you install it, immediately click this, hit save, and you'll never have that problem again. Now look how simplistic this front end is, and yet it's pretty good sounding synth. So, all right, so that's very nice. You've got to look at all these. It's a million synths, and you let's go back in to one of them. You get to them through here. You pick groove boxes, you go to the factory library, the reactor blocks, open it up, look what they got. Reactor blocks, you've got all these. Well, really, it's not so much the blocks, though you can explore some of those. The factory library, though, is loaded up with groove boxes, samplers, sequencers. The factory selection, similar, and then you got the big deals that are actually regular synths. So if you've got Ultimate, anybody who has Ultimate has all of these, and probably didn't even realize that heavy hitters like Round, Scanner XT, Spark, the freebie TRK1 bass and kick, the Finger, which is a very interesting thing, Mouth, those are all built with Reactor, as is Razor, Prism, Polyplex, Monarch, Molecular, and every single one of those, Flesh is very heavy, by the way, it's very CPU heavy. Contour, Microprism is like a light version of Prism. So all of these are available to you to add to Cantabile, and they all work with the drop-down system, every single one of them. So that's worth re-exploring. If you've had Reactor kind of kicking around and used a few of the Reactor ones, not even realizing they were Reactor ones, like I say, well, all of those will work beautifully with this drop-down system, and it's automatic. Okay, so let's get out of that. What about the ones that aren't so automatic, right? And so We'll use OBX since I already have this loaded in. Of course, the way this you get around this is that you have your presets here, and you're going to use plugin snapshots or one of these others. So using the plugins programs is what those ones that use the drop downs, that provide drop downs to Cantabile, use that first one. The other two are I mean, entire plugin snapshots is guaranteed. It always works. I don't care what I've tried it on. It always works. So it's pretty much been my go-to. I don't even experiment with parameter sets that often, but it's lighter and it's very fast. It doesn't load in the entire preset. It doesn't load in all the settings from that preset, because basically that's what's happening here. Whereas parameter sets just grab the plugin's exported automatable parameters. But some plugins, that's not enough. You have to use the entire snapshots. Okay? So using the plugin snapshots, let's go ahead and go to the next one, plugin snapshot 8, and pick anything but jump. And little organ. So I'm not sure what's actually plugged in here. And so then you, of course, go up here, give it a name, rename program, little organ. And then just don't forget to do the next one. Don't forget to advance it. And it'll save it. Otherwise, you'll write over little organ with your next selection in here. Okay? So New Age Portrait. Oh, for sure I would use that. So again, give it a name. And bingo, now you have these available as the drop downs. Now, this is all very well and good. It's going to apply to this song. Let me go ahead and save the song. So now it's this drop down works in this song, but now we're talking, how do I get this out of this song? Do I make a rack? Well, yeah, you could make a rack, and your changes will be saved with the rack. That's how I made the instrument ones for like the wave station, where I added just favorites, of course, and it works, saves and across things because it's a rack. If you've gone and made one and you go, oh, I didn't put in a rack, I gotta load this stupid song every single time, oh no, well, you can, of course, simply select it and copy it, and now it'll paste in. Could even paste it into the same item, and you can have two instances, and you pick a different sound, and so you can use the same just different instances of the same instrument, and you don't lose your drop downs. So that's really handy, in my opinion, for shows, especially if you're reusing a nice low CPU thing like Synth One or one of those real lightweight synths. You can pile them up on top of each other in here and use a whole bunch of instances of them. You can even rename them. Click rename and call that one, just devote it to Spaced Tape Angels. And devote it to that, right? Dedicate it in this song. So save the song. Okay, so anyone want to try one of the parameter settings for the same idea? We could try. Let's go ahead and, I may as well just go ahead and copy. It's already copied, paste it in. And so for this instance, I believe this is always instance to instance. You can change it to parameter sets. And most likely it's going to work very similarly. But now we're in a different world. totally different world. So we got to save these in once again. So let's go ahead and save New Age Portrait. And move on. So this would be using the parameter sets. Rename. But it's the same methodology. There we go. Aha. Now we're talking something actually useful. So, I know, I'm corny. So that's the idea there. And look, wait a minute. It's not changing up here. Didn't the other version change up here? Maybe it didn't.
So maybe because the name is not automatable, so it's not part of the automatable parameters set.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head. Yep. But anyway, so it's nice that I can, if I actually had a controller going to this thing. I got MPK, okay. Yeah, and just be able to switch through and not play that all the time. There we are. Now again, this is saved with the song, so the day that I finally say, you know, that song has so many great presets. So I'm going to go ahead and create that rack. So you go ahead and do the copy, add an object, create an embedded rack that you can save or from file, whatever. And go ahead and paste that stuff in there. And it pastes all that stuff in there, and we get, gotta change my routing, of course, to be the rack MIDI in, and got this thing, make sure it's aimed right, turn it on, and make my stereo out go to output, outport stereo out, rack stereo out, and now that'll all turn off. There we go. Gotta add this new route. We'll change this to port. Is that just called right now? Rack 9. It's sort of like Planet. Here we are. Okay, instant. And so now I can save it and all that kind of stuff.
First, you have to save a rack to a file, and then you can add an embedded rack as file. But first, you have to save it.
Oh. So first I have to do...
You have to create the rack, then a new embedded rack in Solo, because in Solo there is no linked rack.
Right.
So in Solo, you would have to create an embedded rack, save it to a file, and then you can add it with embedded rack.
Oh, there we go.
File.
Save rack as. Okay, that's where I was lost, I guess. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it would be in a right click from the original page, but it's not. You have to go up here to File. And then I can save it as an embedded rack or something.
You can save rack copy or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In Solo, I have save. Let's see. I can only save rack copy as. I have not save rack. Save rack as.
But then you have to be inside the rack to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can save copy as. Okay, great.
Yes, I have to be inside the rack to do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you performer freaks that all tuned in thinking this Wednesday. We're only talking to a performer. We're not encumbered by these solo people.
I'm very sorry. I'm ashamed to be.
Well, anyway, So this, I think, is going to be fairly short as webinars go, as far as the demonstration section. Well, anyway, I got to be gone in a few minutes. So,
I have to go now.
okay,
So
great.
I say goodbye because see you again next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See you Monday.
And thanks again.
Okay.
And then I'll have the time to play around with the VST settings you showed. So then I will have the questions.
Oh, man. When you get into that native instrument stuff, if you got it, the reactor instruments, you're
Yeah.
going to flip. It's really remarkably good sounding. So, but that engine that they've been using, that reactor engine, has always been a real nice thing. It's always been nice. So
Are you using Massive any at all?
I was one of the testers for Massive X, and because I do beta testing with them, with native instruments.
Is it hard on your CPU? Do you remember?
It depends on how many voices you turn up.
I see.
It's
If I
just
can
like
get in
Diva. You can run it light or you can run it heavy. So, there's a God mode in Massive X too, kind of a thing, where if you're using 8 voices or kind of thing, then it can get heavy. Depends. I've not really loaded in any patches that overwhelmed my system with that yet. And I go through and I test all the patches because I'm a beta tester. I got to try everything.
I see.
Amazingly, I don't stumble on the problems other people find. I go and read the bug reports and go, how did I miss that? So other people must be far better for zeroing in on the bugs than I am. I don't even know why they retain me as a beta tester sometimes.
Oh boy.
Anyway. Okay, well, I'll talk to you all next week and around the forum.
All right.
All right.
Later.
See you later.
See ya.
And remember, you got to bring your list of questions next time. Let's stop the share. There we go. Now I can end.